One of the ongoing conversations in dating at the moment is around how women are struggling to find compatible men
Hmm.
because women are more educated. I think there's more women graduating with college degrees now. The top 10% of men seem to be having all of the sex, according to some studies that I read, a lot of the sex. And then there's this bottom 50% of men that are somewhat disenfranchised because they're not getting the attention. They're probably turning to things like pornography. Women are dating up and to the right, I'm told. So women, did read a study that said the majority of women are still looking for a man who's earning more than them. But in a world of equality, which we all agree is a good thing, where women are more educated now, there isn't enough men up and to the right anymore.
Right.
So there's this sort of disparity between, what women are looking for, but actually what's available in the market potentially.
Hmm. These are all facts. However, we have to interrogate this data, but more so, I think we have to interrogate the narrative that's being handed to us. So I feel like the narrative that's being handed us today is that, you know what, the top 20% of men or 10% of men, they're good, but the bottom 80%, you suck. That couldn't be further from the truth. And I think we have to acknowledge, and this is where, two things could be true. One, we live in a patriarchal society, absolutely, absolutely. But do we need to extend more grace to our men? Absolutely, we do. Are men lonelier than they ever have been? Absolutely. Are men confused? Absolutely, right? Are men being misled? Absolutely. Let's extend more grace to our men. What does that mean? That means being aware that we do live in a loneliness epidemic, being aware that less than 27% of men have a friend that they can feel is a confidant, that 0% of them now feel like they have someone who they can go to at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's being aware of these things. It is saying, you know what? I can appreciate other traits and characteristics outside of how much you earn or how tall you are, right? It's important to be able to understand. And you just asked me, you said, what are the most, I said nothing about how much money someone makes, nothing about how tall they are, right? But at the same time, what we have to understand is the narrative that is handed to about women is that all women are looking for the 6 foot plus CEO, right, who's making over 100,000 pounds or dollars a year. And that is also not the case.
This study here says, despite advancements in gender equality, research indicates that better educated women still tend to prefer husbands who earn more than they do. That's from the Institute for Family Studies. An analysis of online dating behaviors across 24 countries found that women are more selective than men, showing a marked preference for men with higher incomes and education levels,
Yes.
which again proves this up and to the right thing. But there's just not enough men up and to the right. So there's going to be a lot of women that are somewhat dissatisfied according to this.
All right. So the challenge, if I'm really interrogating this, is one is it's talking about highly educated women. So we know that highly educated women are on average dating hypergamously, right? Which is what you're talking about, up. So someone who's dating someone who has the same or higher level of education, the same or higher level of financial resources. And why is that? Because that's the script that society handed to women to say, the only way you can survive is by finding a man who can deliver this to you, right? And I think we have to accept where it came from. It was this terrible society of, you know what, you're not going to be safe unless you find a man who can provide. But you fast forward to today, a large percentage of highly educated women are dating this way. But that's not all women. The other part is, yes, are women beginning to out-earn men and out-educate men? Absolutely. In certain cities. Not in everywhere of the world. Men on average still earn more income. So if you look at the narrative that's handed to us, you could say, well, you know what? Men on average still earn more. But my point is this. My point is that I think we all need to reevaluate what it is that we want. No longer do we need to have a partner, for most of us, or should I say, this is me speaking out of privilege, for many of us in the West, no longer do we need to have a partner for pragmatic reasons. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you just divided it into 3 categories, you would say the bottom kind of rung is all of our psychological and physical needs, food, shelter, right? Then that kind of middle rung is belonging and connection. And the top rung is self-evolved. We want to be, self-evolved, living our best self, contributing the most that we ever could to this world. Marriage and partnership and selecting a partner was largely based on that lower rung all the way through to the 1960s. That's like yesterday, if you think about how long we've lived.
But isn't that evolution as well? Because you see the same thing in the animal kingdom with like the orangutan, which has like 98% the same DNA as us. They still select for survival factors.
So I think what's interesting when you look at different mammals and the evolutionary biology is that there's lots of similarities, but then there's also lots of traits that are different. So it's one of those where we have to appreciate that as Homo sapiens, right? We are unique, and we live in a structure that we have largely created ourselves. We're debating about the institution of marriage. I mean, marriage didn't exist for the vast majority of our existence.
But this golden rule thing, you told me about this.
Yeah.
And you told me that it's cross-cultural.
Yes. So it is.
And this golden rule thing, please explain it for people. But for me, that is evidence that there's still an evolutionary component to selection for men and women. And I was reading this study that said women, almost 50% of women prefer to date only men that are taller than themselves, while only 13% of men prefer to date only women that are shorter than themselves. And another study revealed that women are most satisfied when their partner is approximately 8 inches taller, whereas men are most satisfied with a height difference of about 8 centimeters taller than their partner.
Yes.
So women clearly have a preference here, a significant amount of them, to dating a man that is bigger than they are.
Yes. But all right. Yes. This is so good. All right. A couple of things here. Mm-hmm. Do we have these preferences? Absolutely. So a lot of this handed us through evolutionary and our biology? Absolutely. Is most of it handed to us through socialization? Definitely. Do we change as we increase our well-being? Yes. So here's my point. If you were to go back and say, Zendaya, look, if you go back 10 years, say, Zendaya, look, would you prefer to date a man that is taller than you? I would say there's a good chance she would say, I would prefer it. Yes. Has that been her result? No. Does she appear to be incredibly happy and satisfied? Yes. Right? With Tom Holland? That's from my outside looking in? Yes. Why could that have been the case? Because she grew up being handed a script. She grew up the Disneyfication of relationships. She saw the prince and how large the prince always was in comparison to the princess. She saw that the prince was able to pick up the princess. Like, she saw all of these things. She believed all of these things. And then as she became more mature, as she realized that she doesn't need anyone's validation, as she understood the things and the traits that she loved, she was like, this Tom Holland guy is hot.
Yeah, but that is an exception, not the rule. And also Tom Holland's got 30 million in the bank. So,
yeah, but this does happen. You hear the short
happens,
kings.
But it's the exception, isn't it? It's not the rule.
It is, and you know why? Also, that's the exception. And I agree. I'm with you. It's the exception because most of us have poor well-being. Most of us have low self-esteem. Most of us do. I would argue most adults have low self-esteem, mid to low self-esteem. And what does that mean? It means that we need the validation of others, right? And this is the reason why I always say it goes back to us.
Do you really think this is the answer to this? Do you not believe that there's a big evolutionary component to attraction, selection, preferences? Because I'm struggling to believe that society is the only reason why we pick certain people. And I do, part of me wonders and slightly worries that we've almost accidentally, inadvertently designed society in such a way where what we're looking for no longer exists necessarily. So we have to confront this new reality that, in fact, we're going to have to adjust some of our preferences if we are going to be happy and find what we're looking for.
Yes. I do believe that a large percentage of the decisions that we make have been handed to us genetically. So I'm with that. And I think the research suggests that. So if you have, for example, I was talking to Dr. Tara Swart and talking about, a woman in the club, if she's ovulating or not ovulating, just based on that, men are going to be attracted or not attracted. Or you think about scent, right? Really what we're trying to do with scent, the reason why we're turned off with scent is that it's genetic. It's that if we end up mating with someone who has too close of a genetic mirror to ours, the child won't be as strong. So we need diversification in our genetics, and we don't realize this, but we can determine that through our scent by being turned off. It's a whole sniff test. So do genetics play a role? Absolutely. Golden mean. We talked about golden mean, where in essence this is women on average loving to see wide shoulders and a thinner waist, and men on average loving to see smaller hips, smaller waist, wider hips. Now, can people debate these concepts? Absolutely. Do they stand up? Are there evolutionary reasons for these? Yes, because it speaks to being fertile for women, or it speaks to being strong to protect, right, for a man. All of this does play a role, and sometimes we don't realize how much of a role evolution has played in why and how we make decisions, which is why it's also important, though, to understand how the society that we have created as human beings also plays a role. How we were handed, you need to have a partner who's the same class as you. You need to, when you find your partner, that's the person that completes you. When you find a partner, that's till death do you part. Those pieces were handed to us. So there's no wonder why we're confused. We have all this evolutionary decision-making happening that we're not even aware of. And then on this side, we have society telling us this is the person that we should have, and this is the reason why. And I go back to why awareness is key. And understanding how and why we are gives us a power. It gives us autonomy over our decisions, so that when you are making that decision on your partner, you can ask yourself, yeah, I would love to have a partner who's over 6 feet, but how important is that really to me? Why do I think I feel this way?
Yeah.
And once you begin to have those debates with yourself, that puts you on the path to making a decision that you're going to be more satisfied with in the long haul.
This is the most crazy stat you'll ever hear. 93.3% of you that watch this channel frequently haven't yet hit the subscribe button. So if you liked this clip, and if you like what we do here, please can you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button? And in return, I promise you, I will do everything I can from now until forever to make this channel better and better and better. Thank you.